Ujamama kwaba from like Black Media. Abuja nana ya Brefo tuja no paper abuja enye jakese na obi bebusa se ene na Brefo tuja ne da fan abuja oto ade akọ eye matena Amidu eso na ensema wo ka ede fa matena Amidu ho ewo abra matena Amidu atwe nkrata bi dia ba abonten se eye amampanini a wo susisi na eye president John Dramani Mahama eye abomoden se obeyi nkrofo bi adwumamu no eno na eye nana ya Brefo to Japan wo lete bi a osusu se matena Amidu ede ababonten a abusia odwene ho a onte ase eno na ene ye pese wo kan ho ne ekokotie eye nana ya Brefo nsema na wo kan ne je a wo toto wa abre owieye abusia wone eye aban mu mpanifo yi bi ekasa aye ewo eye tetefon so ene abusia na Brefo akasa pa akyerɛkyerɛ na adwene de akyerɛ kwan asabi ɔno nsusu sɛ yɛfa so bu ɔman a ebeyeye ama ɔman no akɔso ensam de waka bebre kame hwan ne nkwaje nkyeremu nansa na no abusia yenye nkrato yi ne wi a atoa so etie nana ya Brefo nsɛm a wɔka ye ne bi de atoa so abusia baabi a wo hwɛ me bia wo haw ne amaniye kɔdan na bia da ɛda wo so bia no bɔmɔden sɛ woni me bedi nkɔmmɔ yɛde samna nwanwaso bi aba yɛfrɛ ne sɛ ɛyɛ sika kɔkɔɔ na gold samna wo haw bia da ɛda wo so bia wo hia sa samna we sɛ bi afei wo yɛ bɛma wo hwɛ me wo bɛma sɛm wɔ fom wo bɛma yɛ ketwa brabaji bula matali aduro bi na wo bɛma ɛnyɛ kɛse watimi abɔ adwuma nso akyɛ ɛwɔ empem yɛde akwankyerɛ bi aba abusia no yɛhwehwɛ wo hyɛbrem a yɛfrɛ ne sɛ mpanifo akwankyerɛ anaasɛ wobɛtimi afrɛ back to sender onipa bi ha onipa bi tata wato bet ewo ho se wo se ne ti bi obeku bo modern so be fa numbers na egu screen ase na woni mi akasa me hwehwe wo hyebre mu hwie a me bo modern se me kyerɛ wo ne wo beye
Mesubeda sepa Mati Amidu letter 10 na make catch us nepo enkrata ye ba bonte said my phone nyinada I did my phone ye you o media na say so mo kotre fi suspension na o meri o mo nkrata mu na yetre ya wo mo aban fili so obetimi ne o ma ye adwuma be frɛ wo mo Mati Amidu letter 10 ya wo kyerɛ sɛ ye wo kyerɛ sɛ ye what no any rain letter no wa was the promise of a new beginning and reset of the politics of Ghana in the service of every citizen by President John Dramani Mahama must not become a promise of approbating everything that favors the government, partisan political interest, and reprobating those which do not. Only the party butu. A looter is a looter, no matter his political affiliation. If the reset Ghana must yet be taken to an even 100 regeneration of our nation to meet the values of equality and non-discrimination of good governance underpinning the 1992 Constitution. Now, I say it will be the height of a grand deception and patient propaganda to suspend all the employees of National Entrepreneur Innovation Program in order to adhere straightly to due process in regularizing staff employment to prevent further legal complication. As I say, suspend all of them. Chief of staff,
Good morning, my sister. How are you?
I'm very fine. I hope so. Also,
Amazing grace.
we thank God. Yeah, beside and they abide them Rebiaba. In fact, chief of staff letter Biaba Montaigne. And what here wants groups be and chief directors be our bad remember what I started acting. In fact, no national service for the Aba Montaigne. Say will be a volunteer or national service. One packet in Yemen Pebe be embutin home fanfa. And nurse for the by teacher for Emma and a minister Becca Chess and nurse for teacher for the anymore. What's your take on this particular issue that is pending? A name at Amidu Atra letter at the Aba Montes.
Well, thank you very much. Look, let's be very candid here. I have a deep-seated respect for everybody in Ghana here, no matter the educational level. But everybody knows my understanding about HR and human resource management in Ghana here. If you don't know, then that is your own beef. So I am not going to speak like somebody who is trying to explain things. I'm going to speak to you from a pure professional point of view. Let me give you an example. There's a company we are consultants to. They hired another body to try and find out how they can beef up their staff. And when they finished, we were doing quality control of their findings. And only one person, one single person, they have to add to the engineering department. We have to reject it because to overbloat. What it is that you must be able to determine the workload spread for each and every person in every workplace, including the public sector.
Yeah.
And so I am amazed and surprised about whether they are lawyers, whether they are unions, whether they are employers, whether they are who. Everybody jumping into this matter and speaking as though we should employ the whole Ghana into the public sector. We cannot do that. There is an optimum level beyond which you cannot go. You do that, you create friction and fracture in the economy of Ghana.
But also, is that what is going on? Because
yes,
number
we
of
are overemploying people. We have overemployed people into the system. There are people in the public sector, they don't have the load they are to carry. They don't have the load to carry. And yet we are adding more to it. Exceptions can be given to certain professions. Even that, it will have to be properly done. In the sense that if you take nurses, for instance, there are some villages, there are some towns, they don't have 1, 2, 3 nurses there. And in Accra, you have a number of nurses in a certain hospital, in a certain government hospital. Some of them, their workload is very narrow. So, exception can be given to nurses, exception can be given to laboratory people, exception can be given to some level of doctors. Not all hanging in Accra and Kumasi and Tema and so forth and so on. But I think you take the mainstream of the public service. We are overloaded. There are places where they may need a certain caliber of people they rather haven't got it. And we have overloaded the system more so. Some of them have been done deliberately for political reasons. I think that we have to be very careful. So it's not about somebody writing. It was deliberate. It was deliberate. And we must be very wise in this country to know that what we are doing to ourselves, it will bite us and we cannot stand it. I will not support this. Even if somebody want to go ahead and be vilifying people, I am not part of your this kind of thing. I am not going to be part of it too. It's wrong. What they are doing, what they have done is wrong. Anybody must tackle it carefully. That I agree.
But Martin Amidu is about NEP. That a whole institution. You bet me actual letter so be a who be a suspend you be a uncle. Na Yabayan Shimuna for more Susu says or Mobile Juma. That is a institution no AC walk. Now a Juma say institution, you suspended Jumano till whoever is working on it is or feels that why you as was that done right?
I have a lot of respect for the honorable gentleman, Martin Amidu, but he's not an HR person. He's not a labor-related person. He's a legal person. We don't practice a legalistic approach in the field of HR and labor relations. You have to do it with the care it deserves. So it's everybody who is supposed to be speaking on every subject matter. We have to be very cautious about that. Now, this is a program, NEIRP or something. It's a program. It's not a daily manufacturing place. It is not a place like birth and death registry. It is not a place like Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, where there are certain specific schedules. This is the program. And the program is not handled like a ministry. It's not handled like a Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So we really have to be very careful. If you are not seized with the professional acumen of something, you don't necessarily have to comment on it. If I don't know something about engineering, I will not bother myself.
Oh, Patrick, Amidu Casado.
I'm not saying so. I say I have a deep-seated respect for him. But when it comes to HR matters, if it comes to certain, I'm an employer myself. I have a lawyer that works with me. I don't just tackle everything about law without consulting him and other lawyers to see their views. Then I know what to do. If it comes to HR and industrial relations, you have to be very cautious about how you go about it. You can be whoever. Now, there are some fields you have to be very careful.
But he
don't
feels
just jump into it.
He feels some of the employments now legally no a bit me a high as a bit me the however they can take them out
like
of course like Ghana Revenue Authority say they go through structures before they employ. Let us about Mountain say be more high employer or July or be August, October, and the people some have worked in some companies are probation, and during that process that was when they started finding space. Ebi acquired the clearance about now. Me for dependent another private entity. And I interview some of these staffs have been asked to go home.
Look, let me tell you this. I work for a number of companies as consultant, and very high level companies, including very notable banks. They don't employ people by heart. If there is a little space that role will have to be disengaged, we disengage them and pay them appropriately, and they go away. Otherwise, the company will collapse. Ghana is suffocating because we have overpopulated the system. We have done a lot of inquiry in talking about these matters. Some of them, they are writing for purposes of broad knowledge. You have to really examine the pros and cons. If 2 items, 3, a loan plus interest payment will consume close to 70% of our national income, then we better put a stop to some of these things. We cannot employ everybody, including my grandchildren, in the public sector. My children are grown-ups. They are working elsewhere, both within and without. So I am not talking about not employing people. We must employ people, but we must employ people for roles that are available, and the workload is available for them to carry. Not just employ everybody. Then every lawyer in his chamber to employ 30 people. Everybody to employ. And let's see how you can carry it. To collapse.
And in there, a buying show the Abasa from 7 December will be I employ no yen disengaging no. Is that to say with what you're saying, say after that, no, they shouldn't employ anybody?
No, I'm not saying that. Right. You can employ people. But the point is that when you are in a transition, you don't misbehave. When we are in a transition, you don't misbehave. We have misbehaved beyond what we can do. Why should they employ people from after 7th December. They shouldn't have employed at all. They should have waited, and during the transitional conversation with the other team, they lay before them what they intend to do and let them carry it over. And not them. You are employing people. Who told you should employ people for the state when you are on your way out? No government does that in any country. And those who made mistake doing that in America 2 weeks ago, Saturday, Donald Trump weeded all of them out. They are not a country. So Ghana is the only nation in the world that we have to employ everybody in Ghana in the public sector. Let's invite all of them. Let's invite all the students that completed school last year. Let's employ all of them into the public sector and see whether we can survive as a nation in 5 minutes.
You call it misbehavior. If that is what it is, you think the constitution review, no, they should look at it so that it doesn't reoccur, because this is not the first time I see.
The constitution didn't give space for anybody to do that. The only person authorized to employ in Ghana is the employer. It's not workers who employ themselves. But the employer has laid down procedures from purely HR point of view as to how they should employ people. You don't employ people by heart.
But you and I know, sir, you and I know that the Constitution gives the president the mandate, and then his employees, as in ministers who also have chief directors, to help in that kind of space you are talking about. Abba is continuing.
I agree, and I'm saying that when you are in transition, you don't do that. When you have lost election, even before the election, according to our transitional act, you are to write your handing over note 6 months, not handing it over to yourself and not letting it sit down, but you hand it to the administrator, who is supposed to be an impartial person. In the handing over note, did they write that they have employed people? If you go and pick, there is not one single one in it that they have to employ people from 7th December. Look, it was a deliberate thing done to overload the system, to suffocate the economy of Ghana. It was deliberate.
Well,
they are not small boys in Ghana here.
TUC has also condemned. That's why I'm saying that this thing is not any new. This employment after 7th December is not new. So probably now there could be a clause that will deter whoever becomes whoever is president at the time when he's lost power, to stop the employment they do after 7th December. But TUC also... I'm listening.
Yes, I'm listening.
No, you go ahead.
TUC's letter I saw on the screen, they have been carefully worded. They were not condemning this or that. They are talking about how careful we ought to be, and that in the future those things should not be repeated. That's how I read through, and I would have loved to do the same thing, maybe go a little step further.
It says the TUC, that is the point 4. The TUC has closely monitored the spirited public discourse on the appropriateness or otherwise of the directive. We find the directive by the Chief of Staff very problematic, to say the least. Not only is his directive open to abuse, but we find it extremely difficult to understand how government could describe all appointments or recruitment made after 7 December 2024 as not in compliance with good governance practices and principles.
Well, I have worked at a union level, at TUC level myself before. I know what it is, and we all have understanding about how to go about this. And I'm talking about purely HR point of view.
Right.
You don't over-employ people, whether in Ghana or Togo or Burkina Faso. Nobody has right to over-employ. You do that, you disable your organization. you destroy your organization. We have done this wicked thing to ourselves before, and we have suffered the consequences of it. We have suffered diversity in this country because of mismanagement, overloading companies. We cannot overload Ghana. If you, my sister there, if they carry a load for you and the load is so heavy you can't carry, in 2 weeks' time we will bury you. So we cannot overload Ghana. It can be anybody talking about it. The point is that it's good to employ, but don't overemploy. And the law and the practice says so. And whosoever wants to be doing that, it's up to them. I was born in Gold Coast. Those of you who are Ghanaians who want to destroy your own nation, it's up to you.
Right, so now I say I'm a person to Thank you so much.
Thank you.
In the era Austin Game, on an outstanding labor consultant and expert. I was your uncle Buta for chain.